T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast in the world. Welcome to New Breed on the Block series, the week for the Amazon tree boa lovers. What is good? But here we are, episode 385. I'm your boy MJ. Hope everyone's having a solid Monday so far. And if not, it's about to get better. But man, I hope everyone's doing good with other stuff in their life, like their animals. I hope they're doing their weekly water changes. Man, listen, if this is your first time tapping in, what is good? Smash that like button. All right. And then hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, select all. You'll be on top of every single podcast I drop here on this channel. I want to say thank you for all the love and support, all the viewers, all the subscribers, man. You guys are really just, it means a lot that you guys give this channel the time of day. Now, you can also catch Trap Talk Reptile Podcast on all the major audio platforms such as Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Don't forget to rate, review on those platforms as well. Shout out to all the early birds. I see you guys. I'll get to you guys in a second, man. But I want to get things started with tonight's sponsor, which is my good man over at GS Reptiles. Head over to YouTube. GS Reptiles. My man, Gary Shavino. Just dropped an epic vlog. Head over to his boy Johnny's house, who works with these really rare locality of blue-tongued skinks and other awesome Australian lizards. But yes, super epic vlog. This guy's content's not to be slept on. Neither is his work. So make sure you head over to Instagram and follow Gary on IG as well. GS Reptiles, my man, Gary Shavino. Thank you so much. I also want to say tonight's episode is brought to you by Focus Cube Habitats. All right? Behind me, what you see, the wall of focus. Thank you, Stephen and Ashley. Flexing Texas all day, every day. Head over to focuscubehabitats.com. See what they have available. Everything's custom. Okay, they'll build what you want to as well. So thank you so much, Stephen and Ashley. I appreciate you so much. And follow them on Instagram as well. Appreciate the sponsor, man. Last but not least, use Ship Your Reptiles. Use what the pros use. Use promo code TRAPTALK. Save yourself $15 on that next reptile shipment. And like I said, Ship Your Reptiles, the OG of the reptile shipping company. The pros, the best in the game. Use Ship Your Reptiles, and that's a fact. Thank you so much, Chad Brown. Thank you, Susie, the entire Ship Your Reptiles family. Appreciate you guys so much. And we're going to go hard for Terry. Holy shit, guys. What do you know? We got Marshall Mendes, my dog, in the building tonight.
What's up?
Dude, can you please attest right now that earbuds for this is not the way to go?
Yeah, no bueno.
Thank you, man. A lot of people want to argue that because, hey, listen, those aren't cheap. Some people spend some good money on those, and then they want to use them on here, and it's just like, dude, sorry, toss them.
No, he's free. The free ones that came with it.
Yeah, Marshall Mendes, man, how you doing, buddy? It's been a while since I had you on the show.
I'm doing great. Everything's 2023 season's well underway, and waiting for the rush of babies coming in about 6 or 8 weeks.
Damn. All right. Now listen, you've been on my bumper quite a while for an Amazon tree boa.
I have, yeah.
And I did one even better. I dragged you along for it. So how do you feel about that?
You did. Yeah, you did. Talk me into it.
Where are you at with your Amazon tree boa litter productions, like as of today? I know you drop a litter at least once a year, something like that. Is that correct, or how's that?
Yeah, I've had litters the last 3 years. The first one was, I guess, coming up on 3 years ago now. And then I had a nice one 2 Novembers ago, and then a nice another mediocre one earlier. It was either early this year or late last year. So had 3 litters now. And I'm playing with a couple of the morphs: calico, tiger, leopard. So yeah, this we'll see. I got a pretty exciting pair this season, which I bred a leopard male to a tiger female. So excited to see what might come from those. I'm still kind of learning about the genetics of how all the, how everything works. So hopefully get some clarity on that this week.
I mean, you know how a lot of chondro keepers, as ourselves, could kind of like go off on how crazy diverse colorations can be in the chondro, right? But
yeah,
that's kind of the same thing in Amazon tree boas. I'm starting to see like there's Amazon tree boa keepers who are like, yo, hold on, chondro guys, like before you get all excited, these motherfuckers are throwing some crazy shit too. So, and I want to say we're going to be talking about an underrated species tonight. So I'm stoked.
Yeah, 100%.
We got some people in the early birds going nuts. I think they're happy you're here. Can we shout some of the early birds tonight? You cool with that?
Sure.
All right, guys. If you're in the live chat tonight too, do not be shy with the super chats. If you got an important question, topic, or if you want to show some love, drop a super chat if you think it's worth it. Shout out to the new YouTube member, Lord Brown Bear in the building. Deviant Glass, what is up, player? Hey, this guy blows some awesome pipe smoking tobacco pieces. This guy, shit, we're in 2023. He makes some sick ass weed pipes, bro. Deviant Glass in the building. Appreciate you being here. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Miller's Menagerie in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Heath and Hatchery in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Row 5.0 in the building. Dude, this guy right here, I think he's this close to making the jump from ball pythons to chondros. What do you have to say to that?
I think can't go wrong. You won't regret it. How's that?
I love it. Yeah, that's motivating. Shout out to my boy Ro. Brooke in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Jordan Heartland Reptiles in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Orange County Chondros. This guy right here is something like you want to see something pretty crazy. All in right off the bat. Not even ball pythons. He's going straight for chondros, bro. He's going straight for blood. Gotta love
nice.
It. Yeah. And he's from Orange County. No, go figure. They're very bougie up there. So
yeah,
it makes sense. I mean, they take
only designers, right?
Only designers. You got it. That's all he wants. No, man. But shout out to my boy Robert, Orange County Chondros. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. The homie Big Mike in the building. 1776 Exotics. And we're gonna end this with my homie Big Mike because he is my OG Trap Talk Patreon member, the first to join the family. And yeah, don't forget, guys, if you're looking for exclusive content, go down to the very first link you see below. Join the Trap Talk Patreon family. And yeah, man, listen, I'm ready to rock and roll. I think it's time to make history on Trap Talk tonight and finally bring some Amazon tree boa.
About time. How's it taking so long?
All right, guys. Well, fuck it. Let's do it. Do what you got to do to get your mind right. Do what you got to do to stay hydrated. I need Marshall staying hydrated. That's for sure. When doesn't he stay hydrated? But guys, episode 385 coming at you right now. Get the lights up. Give it up for my man, Randy P. Let's go. You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusive. Oh.
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it.
And we're live. Episode 385 with my man, Randy P. What is
How
up,
you
Randy?
doing?
What's up, Randy?
Thanks for having me, guys. Nice to meet you, Marshall.
Yeah, likewise.
Dude, and I actually just met Randy for the first time too, after us knowing each other, kind of like through social media
Sure.
for at least 5 years?
Yeah, that's probably when you started.
Damn,
Been following
man.
you since the beginning.
Well, at least I did it right and had you on as far as giving this week to the Amazon tree boa breeders, because the work that I've always followed you always had Amazon tree boas in the mix.
Oh,
correct?
yeah.
Has that
Yeah.
been your foundation for you, Randy?
No. But I am kind of curious why you had hognose breeders on before Amazon tree boa breeders. I mean, that's a little insult. No, I'm just playing.
I don't even know what to say.
I'm just playing with you. So I'll kind of give you a little history of me. I mean, I've always been a hobbyist. I don't know if I've necessarily considered myself a breeder. I've just bred certain things here and there.
Right.
Like anyone just kind of getting into the game as a kid, you don't really know what you're doing. You're just playing with, wildlife outside and begging your parents for stuff. When I was 8, I think I convinced my mom to get a red-eared slider because she, told me I couldn't have snakes. That really, that want and stuff, that fire, most of the time it starts as a kid.
Yeah.
Fast forward way in the future here. When I was with my ex-wife, I was looking for something that just something out of the ordinary, some pet. I had allergies to long-haired animals, dogs and cats. So although I'm usually pretty good with dogs, I didn't want a cat or anything other than a dog. So I found a ball python, a PetSmart, and this was probably like 2007.
Okay.
2008, something like that.
Where the majority of people find ball pythons. Back then, that's a lot of people didn't even like to go on Craigslist back then.
But I mean, at least back then, like I at least had the knowledge. Like PetSmart was decent enough that they would put like how big the animals would get and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, well, this is something I could probably keep. So I picked one of those up, and then I just like fell in love. Like scoured the internet for as much information as I could find. I think I created a little YouTube channel. Like if you go back, it's embarrassing, but I have some YouTube back in the day. And I remember right around that time, Snake Bites TV was coming out. I remember when they put their trailer out. And from then I was just pretty much just following him and then a few other keepers, because there wasn't a ton of YouTubers out there. And it was before Google owned it. So like the YouTube wasn't really for necessarily entertainment purposes, at least where I was looking. It was more of like documentation and kind of like just information, how-tos. Everything was how-tos, know. So I did some videos back in the day on that kind of stuff. But the YouTube game, props to you, because that's a lot of work, man. So it wasn't something
the thing is, like, the level of YouTube why I do it's definitely not the money, because it's like even if my views were like up there, they're still not millions. Like, it's really hard to get millions of views, but I'm totally okay with that, like just doing my thing with that, because I don't need to be desperate for content, but anyways, so I feel you on that.
Yeah. And so I started getting into the ball python morph craze, because Brian Barczyk was doing it at that time, and everyone was really starting to focus on the ball pythons at that point. I don't know how you guys get into it nowadays, like with so many thousands of morphs and combinations, like how overwhelming that shit is. Like, at least back when I started, it was very simple, like single gene, mostly codom or incomplete dominant traits, and some fused recessives.
You would think the answer to that, Marshall, is like the shit that we like is all $5,000-$10,000. Like, we like the high end shit. That's how you keep it interesting in ball pythons.
Yeah.
If you don't,
your animals have to stand out from the crowd. Otherwise, why? Then you're just competing on price, if not. But
and so around that time, I was also starting to gain interest on green tree pythons. Probably around the 2008, 2009 timeframe, I started picking up a couple of them.
Nice.
Just some
imports. I have to ask you, Randy, who'd you import or who'd you pick up from?
Some of them were imports. Bushmaster, Then I picked up a couple animals from a gentleman named Simon Tang. There's also a group of animals I picked up from a guy named Dennis Flanders.
Any of those names stand out, Marshall?
Know any of those names?
Maybe Simon Tang sounds familiar, but I couldn't tell you from where.
Yeah. And the names, I mean, when I bought them third hand, right, or second hand from these people, I'm just going from the information they gave me. So
right.
Started kind of collecting, I had ball pythons and green tree pythons, and then just various other reptiles. I call it, everyone kind of goes through their Noah's Ark phase. You get like onesies and twosies of everything. And I was doing that at the time too. But right about 2011, something like that, my wife and I started splitting up. So I had to think about downsizing. So I tried to sell everything that wasn't a green tree python and a ball python. That same year we were going through those troubles is the same year I produced my first green tree python clutch and then my first ball python clutch the same year. The green tree python clutch came first, and that one's actually documented on YouTube. So if you look up my name, you could see that one was on there.
Nice.
And then the ball python clutch came right afterwards. But I was so enamored with the green tree pythons that after that clutch hatched from the ball pythons, I just sold the rest of the ball pythons that I had and reinvested into more green tree pythons because I loved them so much.
How did you do with that being your first clutch?
So, and that's the thing, is the first clutch, it wasn't that bad, right? Like all I did was I bought the More Complete Chondro book from Greg Maxwell. And then there's this guy on YouTube. I don't even know his name other than Jason. His handle on YouTube was Cute Gay Jason.
Oh, yeah, I know that guy.
this guy.
Have you ever seen his stuff, Marshall? Have you seen this guy?
I have not.
Oh, man.
Dude, he bred emeralds and chondros. And like he walked me through how to breed chondros. He just walked me through it. And then that in conjunction with Greg Maxwell's book, what I did is I took Damon Salce's design for the albinochondro.com, the igloo cooler, right? I just took that design and I shortened it down to a smaller frame, something a little bit cheaper. One of the red igloo coolers. I cut a piece of plexiglass for the top so that when I opened the lid, it wouldn't dump everything out. And then I layered everything exactly the same way Damon Salce's did in his videos. And that was super. I hooked it up to a Herpstat ND. I don't even know if they sell those anymore, but the night drop Herpstats, when they first had them, they're like a vertical black box. Yeah. So, I mean, that's how I produced. I had 4 green tree python clutches, but the 4th one was 11 slugs. And so the other 3 I had were all the same sire, but 2 different females. So I produced.
This is like 2008, you said?
No, 2011 to 2014.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was producing them back to
quite
back.
a few chondros from that style of homemade incubator, also from Damon's plans.
Really stable.
Yeah.
I mean, I made a brand new incubator, and I'm trying to breed green trees this year, and I'm kind of nervous. Like, should I just use the old one? Like I know it's hatched out chondros, but we'll see. Even if I don't know if I even get any. We'll see.
I mean, as long as you have controlled temps, I know I don't have the perfect track history, but I also take a lot of notes from all my failures. And I just, something confined, small with consistent temps, you're in the zone. Really, as long as the eggs are good, obviously. But
they're tough. I mean, and I was kind of like beginner's luck with the first one because I got 17 eggs, no infertiles. The first clutch was a Wamina to a Jaipur female. And then I had like 1 or 2 eggs die right away. And then I remember seeing 6 of them, like all of them hatch, but 6, I think it was 6 of them that just came out and died. Like their heads popped out and then they just died. So yes, that's how it worked. I had 10 after that actually made it. And then I was able to actually establish 6 of those. So I took it kind of hard, like, hey, I only had 6.
I understand. Yeah.
But everyone was telling me like, no, man, like what I did is I took some of those babies and piggybacked off my buddy's expo down in Oregon, and that's where I met Mark Goyer, Nick Mutton, and Ryan Young. They all three came up to me and they said,
Okay.
where did you get these small little imports? And I said, I produced these. And they're like, no way. And I was like, well, here's the YouTube video. Like, luckily I had that. No one believed me at all.
I tried looking it up real quick. I can't find it. What do you type exactly?
My full name, Randall.
Okay.
With 2 L's and then Pegues.
All right, continue. I'll keep doing it, but I'll keep pulling it up. Anyways, so I'm curious though. Okay, the ones the 6 that rolled out and they pipped, I guess, fully and they died hanging out the egg, or did they come out? Did they emerge fully or no?
I'm trying to remember. I don't think they fully came out. Like, I was trying to wonder why some of them were perched and the other ones were still in the egg and they were dead. Like, their heads just came out and died.
Did you poke holes in the egg box or no? Were there any holes? Did you do any of that stuff, or they just kind of?
My egg box wasn't completely sealed. The way I did it is I just kind of had my egg box in there, and you'll see it if you look on that YouTube video. But I had a piece of plexi just on top of the tub, so there is way for there to be ventilation through that.
So almost like a sim container then, like it just
kinda, yeah. And I did it suspended over water too. I just made it out of egg crate and PVC couplings or something like that.
Yeah.
You guys ready to see this 2012 footage? This is
great.
My
God.
Come on, man. Look at my guy Randy right here.
Oh my God.
What a youngster. Gotta love it. All right. So okay, obviously you're pulling out the chondro here with that late. Oh wow, look at that little tiny little nest box. Yep. Was that a tool chest or what is that? Or no, that's one of the
that's one of those critter keepers that I just put gorilla tape around.
Damn,
I was ghetto, man.
So,
like,
so is your wife helping you film this?
Yeah, that's my ex-wife. Yeah.
Okay.
What'd you have in there? Oh no, my bad. No, that's the snake. That's the egg box.
Yeah, sorry, the lighting. I think I shine a light in a second here.
Yeah, let's see this. This is neat.
But I mean, I'm lucky I at least documented that, because really nobody believed me that I didn't realize it was that difficult to breed them, because my first clutch wasn't that bad. The second one was horrible, but that was a different female.
There we go. Some good green. So that's a Biak.
They were
No, it was sold to me as a Jayapura Bushmaster.
Oh, wow.
So it could be mixed with Biak, but that's not what it was sold to me as.
Right. What are you gonna say, Marshall?
I was just gonna say that chondros are the first reptile I ever hatched, also. So
yeah, I bred like leopard geckos and dart frogs and tokay geckos. I mean, I've kind of like I said, when I was going through my Noah's Ark phase, I realized how much I enjoy breeding them. So I would breed little things here and there, or help my buddies with their veiled chameleon breeding projects. I would take the eggs over my house and stuff, and the bearded dragons.
Yeah, those are good looking eggs right there.
Yeah. No, I was really fortunate that first clutch.
You put them all in deli cups? You put them all in deli cups like this individually, or like kind of like groups.
Yep. And I did that because that guy Jason told me that like if some of them go bad, at least just part of them would go bad. So I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
And did you have like 100% hatch rate?
Well,
I know. Yeah, these were the ones you were saying that some of them just pipped and never came out.
Yeah, but they all looked good.
So how many total did you get?
I think 17.
Damn. And here's the incubator. Here's all of them. Here's the incubator.
Yeah, there you go.
Damn.
Yeah.
Super simple.
I mean, I think we always overcomplicate everything in these
100%.
hobbies. And just life in general. I think we do that. So
wait, so you had like a water heater in there, or how'd you heat that in there? Remind me how.
You got to go back and check albinocondor.com. He actually has the design. I'm pretty sure it's still there, and he makes like PVC tray levels, and one of the bottom trays is wrapped with heat tape.
Oh, wow.
Or heat cord, and then you have 2 water pans that are set in that, so it actually creates a humid chamber. So, and then I actually created a dome over my eggs. I probably didn't do it here, but what I did is I domed over them with like that netting for like construction fencing. We cut it up and we use it for Amazon babies all the time, but I put that over the eggs and then I just put paper towel over. So when I open the lid and everything, I would never get any water on the eggs. And then I would just fill up the chambers of water and then I would change the paper towel out and I would just check them once a week. So that's how I did it.
That's neat.
Yeah.
I love how we're 20 minutes deep and we've only talked about chondros. That's pretty epic.
I mean, chondros, I'll always have chondros, but Amazons have really stole the show for me. I mean, they really have.
And what year was this? When did the crates for the Amazons take over?
The crate, it started before I actually, because I completely got out of the hobby in 2014.
Is that due to the divorce? You that's when you like.
Well, we were finalizing stuff at that time. I met my current wife that I'm with now around that time. But no, I actually she was pregnant with my son Landon at the time. So I was like, I can't have all these kids. Like I got to grow up and I can't have all these expensive pets for no reason, like I was like, I gotta say, and then everyone gets to you too. And they're like, well, how are you going to have a baby and have all this, stuff that's dangerous? And it kind of gets to you after a while. And I was just like, fuck it. And I sold all of it. And then I went into salt water and built a big reef tank into my dining room and plumbed it into my garage. And I did that for a while, but it didn't fill that void, man.
I mean, that's one other beast, right? The whole
salt it is.
Yeah, but my thing is when people tell me something's difficult, I'm interested.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to obsess over it, just like anything else,
right?
Well, I have, kind of about me. I have two businesses. I have a general construction business, and then I also have a painting business too.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. I do a lot of like insurance restoration work and sometimes I build new homes and do like a lot of remodels and additions.
Damn, that's awesome. And you're in the PNW, right? Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. So I'm over here on Whidbey Island. There's a big island chain on the West Coast and I'm right underneath the San Juan Islands. So
okay. Nice.
There. You've been to Washington? Gorgeous. You've been to Washington, Marshall?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really like spoiled because the temperature here is always like between like 45 and 75. There's times of the year where it dips a little bit, and then there's times it might get a little bit hot, but it's really rare to get anything over 85 in the summer ever.
Both of y'all spoiled with the weather.
Yeah.
But
dude, now
I might get 1 week of snow maybe.
Now, I'm curious, you were kind of mentioning how, it was mainly the pet side of things was what made you so involved with reptiles in the beginning. But was it the Amazon tree boas or what snake was it that made you say, fuck it, I'm going to breed this? Like when did you want to take on that again?
So when I was getting out, one of the things that crossed my mind is it really started to get to me, like how much work you put into these green tree python babies. And to have someone call you 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road and say, hey, dude, it died. Like after, you had to force feed that thing or you had to like stay on top of it forever, before you could even let it go. And then someone can't figure it out. Like that really got to me. Like it was pissing me off. So I wanted to get a species that was kind of had the same aesthetics that like people, like if they wanted to set up something nice, they could have it sit in their perch for them. And most people will go the emeralds, but for some reason I wasn't really interested in the emeralds. Like they were a little bit too large for what I wanted. And their head shape is just, it's odd to me. I know everyone likes them.
Are your hands important to you?
My hands are important. Yeah.
Okay. That's why Bill Siegel never got into it.
No, I mean, the basins are nice, but I don't want to get into something just for the monetary value of it.
Right, good call.
The Amazons, if you ever pick up a bright red Amazon tree boa and start playing with it, you'll fall in love. I mean, that's all it really takes. And I wanted to find a species that kind of had that same aesthetic, but that was much hardier, right? So the person that I was selling it to, you know, if they got it too hot or too cold or too, you know, humid or not humid enough or whatever the parameters were, if they were a little off, that the snake would probably still be okay, you know, a little bit more forgiving. So I really started looking into the Amazon tree boas, but at 2014, like I said, I sold everything and I got out. I didn't really think that I was going to get back in. But my wife, Haley, you know, it was like a birthday coming up, and she was like, "What do you want? You know, you're hard to get," because I just really don't care, you know, just whatever. I'm a pretty simple guy. And she's just like, "Hey, you know, like if I want something, I'll just get it myself. You know, I don't need." So she's like, "Well, you know, when we first got together, you had all those snakes. You want a snake?" And I was like, "Don't open those floodgates," you know. And
she's like, oh fuck, what did I do?
Yeah.
Like, what have I done?
So she's like, "Well, what would you want, you know?" And I was like, "Well, you know me with green tree python." She's like, "I'm not spending that much money on a snake right now. If it's just a pet, you can have something else." And I'm like, "All right, how about an Amazon tree boa?" And so she's looking around and she found this one from Noah Ingram, and they sent it over here, and I was ecstatic. But as soon as I had that snake in my hands, like, there's a little shed out back off my patio, and I ripped that thing down to studs and redid the whole thing. I said, "All right," because my wife, she's like, "I'm either going to force you to turn that into a dog room, or you can have it for your snakes." And I was like, "No, it's my snake room." Damn. And so I put a full light door in there and a window and a cadet heater and insulated the hell out of that thing and drywalled it and put some rubber base in it. And then I started.
Both you fuckers are capable of just building whatever you want. That's
well, yeah, money's a factor too, though. You could always build it, but you got to wait for.
Have you seen this guy? Have you seen this guy's bathroom?
No.
Coolest thing I've ever seen. I've never seen a bathroom like that. Sorry, I just had to throw
Does
that
he have
out.
a bidet?
I don't know.
No bidet.
It should. Is that bathroom completely done? It's been done, right, Marshall? I'm sorry.
It's like 90, you know, it's like 99.5% done. Like the last 0.5% of any construction job is always the hardest.
Always
but
the hardest.
It needs like some, you know, like a little bit of trim, and then it's done. But yeah. it's close.
I have a guy that works for me that I call him the closer because I need him to go and close these jobs out so I can get paid, because he always does that. He like makes a list and just goes down the list and checks it off.
It's fun. Yeah. So how do you have the Amazon set up in there? Are you using like ambient heat, or are you just relying on? Okay.
So, but what I do is all my baby tubs do have heat, right? And they're on a thermostat, and then all of my adult cages have, some of my juvenile cages don't have heat, but all of my adult cages have radiant heat panels, and they're on thermostats too. My thermostats, I like to set them low. So I'll set them to like 81 or 82, just nice and low. And then the room is set at like 75 or 77. And I'll let it fluctuate in between there. And so in the summer, the heat's never even kicking on in the racks and the cages at all, you know?
So when you say like the heat panel gets up to 81, like that's a basking spot of 81, or okay. Yeah. Yep. I mean, that's pretty much, that's similar to what I do, but just warmer temps and less, you know, a little bit less variation. Like I don't use supplemental heat, but my room gets to, you know, 81, 82 during the day in the summertime, and then in the wintertime it still gets to this temperature, but it gets a little bit cooler. And somebody suggested a few years ago just turn the heat off, and I haven't given them any supplemental heat since then. Babies, yes, that are in a rack, but not the adults.
So where are you keeping the babies? Where do you keep the babies at then, like temps wise?
I keep them in the same rack that I would keep like baby chondros or emeralds, but like on like the bottom level where it's like close to the floor, and you know there's a fan going in the room, so it's a few degrees cooler, and I have it set on like, you know, 83 or 84 with a nitrop to room temperature.
I used to keep everything hotter, but I've just realized that like I'm a very observant keeper, and if you're looking at your snakes and they're always pressed against that cool side, then I've over the years just kind of trickled the temperatures down to where I see them nice and active, but they're not super aggro. You know, like the Amazons, what I've noticed is they're kind of like the Borneo, the short tails, that you keep them hot, they're going to get pissed off, you know?
Crazy.
And
so are they located at high altitude, or like where do you find Amazon tree boas?
Well, I mean, they're arboreal snakes, but they're all throughout South America. I mean, there's really not an area that doesn't have them. I mean, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
So they have such a wide range.
Are they being found like the same areas as like emeralds and stuff like that too?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy that they're same demographic in a sense. But I'm noticing ever since I brought Warren Booth on. Actually, I noticed this the last time I brought Warren Booth on, because he has like a hot spot of like 93 for their emerald for his emeralds, and he's like, yeah, I do mine hot. And I noticed I'm more on the lower side. Remind me what you do, Marshall. But ever since I raised the heat up, I noticed they like to stay close to that heat more than I typically thought. And so now it's 88 where that is right there. But
I give them like high 80s, but just like if they're under the heat panel for, a couple of hours, you check them and they're at like 89 or something.
But just during the day?
Yeah.
Just during the day, and it drops to room, completely just shuts off at night and goes to room temperature.
So yeah, the only time I actually I bump it up to I want it to get closer to 89 is after I see any female ovulate. That's what I do.
So I was going to ask about that, because the two clutches that I've had, or the two litters that I've had with this one female, I didn't even give them supplemental heat after I knew she was gravid, and I'm wondering if I should change that.
I would. You had a horrible time getting them feeding too, didn't you?
I did, yeah, both litters from that female. But then I have another female that I got my best litter from, like probably a dozen babies, and she was the same way, and she had a dozen, like perfect babies. Yeah. So, but I've just been thinking that that's something I could try. Different is just giving them.
Do you track your post ovulation shed date to babies?
I do, but I can't tell you what it is. I'd have to look it up.
Was it about like 140, or do you know?
I would have to look it up. Yeah, I have I don't know off the top of my head.
That's around the same time as emeralds, right? Emeralds are like 150-ish. Marshall, remind me how long until emeralds?
I think like 155 or something like that.
It's pretty much most boas are around that like 120 to 160. But there's some boas, like there's a guy, I think in Spain, Luan, his Amazon true boa is at day 200 right now, POS. And he took her to the vet. Everything looks alive. Ultrasound, everything looks good. So, I mean, I think that's the normal range, but I think it could definitely go. I've heard of 115 people having babies, which is crazy. The litter I just had was like 120 or 121. So that's pretty quick.
Was that the one where there was 7 live and 1 slug?
Yes.
Okay. And guys, do me a favor, please, if you don't mind, go follow the homie Randy right now on Instagram. And we're talking about dropping litters and whatnot. And I happen to look at his IG and notice this. I mean, I would say this is what makes boas cooler than pythons for sure.
This is the first time I caught it too, man. Like, I literally just rolled one up. I was about to go outside and take a break. And I set that sucker aside and I said, oh my God, she's actually doing it right now. Usually it happens at night when I'm asleep, or first thing in the morning when I'm at the gym or something.
Wow.
But yeah. And then I caught a little bit of her eating the slug too afterwards, which was freaking awesome.
Now, what about the babies though? Like, is that ever a concern? Like, that's fucking sick. Wow.
Yeah.
But what about the babies though? I mean, sometimes they'll go after the babies, right?
Not that I've heard or seen.
Okay.
So,
but
yeah,
I mean,
they'll let the babies crawl all over them.
Wow, look at that clutch, or excuse me, that litter. What's going on? If you want to break this down, like, is this a morph or what's happening in this?
So there's Amazon's it's like right now at the beginning stages of ball pythons, people were looking for these small little idiosyncrasies and little teeny minute details that were different, that they were trying to pull something out of, because you guys had to reverse engineer all those genes. Right? The animals came with the genes. You had to stack the genes or remove them, separate them from other genes. And that's kind of what we're trying to do, is we're trying to figure it out. This was a tiger to a tiger. So it was a red tiger to a Halloween tiger. Tiger is the vertical dorsal striping.
That's incomplete dominant, right? Or
so it's right now it's considered dominant still. But I know Dayton and Nick, and that's something you might want to talk to Dayton about too, is they have evidence that there could be a super because they've produced all tiger litters from one tiger pairing.
Right.
So that would indicate that it is a super. Yeah, so that's the father of the recent one. And so with him, he was born red and he's still red, but he has an orange head. So
this thing's nuts, bro. What the fuck?
His name is Hellboy.
Oh my god. Who produced this?
Dayton.
Dayton did?
Yep.
Hey, shout for that plug, by the way. I will say Marshall was, because I asked Marshall when he was on my bumper aggressively about doing Amazon tree boas. And I'm like, well, who would I bring on? He mentioned Dayton.
No, you guys are gonna bring on Rory too. We'll figure it out. He's
Rory,
the one you need to talk to.
Venomous homie Rory?
No, Rory Gresco.
Gresco, yeah.
Who that is?
He's in Southern California too. He used to live where I think he's still in the Montclair area.
Okay, tight.
That's who I got pretty much all of my. Well, I don't have a ton, so I have like 2.2 adults and 1.3 I got from Rory.
You see that crazy one right there? That one came from Ryan Young.
Bloody Mary? This one?
Yes.
This thing is nuts.
So, and then Paranoia is a sibling from that one from last year's litter. So 2 years younger. Yep, she'll be ready to breed next season.
You're going to put Hellboy to her.
No, I'm going to put Freak Show to her.
Where's Freak Show? Show me Freak Show.
Freak Show is the one that you had on the profile.
The real light
at
one?
At the top in the middle.
This one?
Yeah, that's his baby, his younger picture. But if you scroll down a couple of them.
This one?
Right there underneath the yellow one. No, that's Ember.
This one.
Right there. Yeah, that's Freak Show.
This is like some calico shit, bro.
Yeah, so he's like an extreme calico from Rory Gresco.
Whoa.
So do you think that the white and the lighter ones tend to be harder to reproduce, right? Than don't they want to like go darker as they mature? Is that unusual? That's pretty unusual for one, right? To be that light as an adult. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, all the females, they want to gain those black scales when they get, when they're gravid. I mean, we'll see with these. Obviously this is a male. But like Bloody Mary, I'm assuming she'll be dark. She'll darken up quite a bit as she gets older too.
Dude, I'm obsessed with this snake, bro.
But yeah, Paranoia, that other one too. Her sister. If you look to the left of Freak Show, that one. That's gonna look better than Bloody Mary. That one's just 2 years younger.
All these names give me anxiety. Is that supposed to happen?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason I do it is because. Like the same reason for chondros, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone knows who Versace is, right?
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? So to have Versace blood, I want people to understand that they're going to get Freak Show blood or Bloody Mary blood.
And what's Versace now? 22, 23 years old?
Yeah, 23, I think. It is 01. So
still handling
20. Yeah, I thought he was gonna go down there for a while. He had a respiratory infection and had to take a round of antibiotics, but he's back.
Yeah,
that's
rough.
Go, dude! What a guy, man! What a life for Versace. I would say he created quite the name for himself.
Yeah.
A lot of bloodline out there.
Hey, check it out though. I want to know though. We're talking all this. Litter dropping and whatnot. I'm curious about establishing these babies.
They're tough, man. For me, they were tough.
Let's go right into it, Randy. Like, let's talk about not maybe the most recent litter, but just your overall experience with litters and establishing the Amazon tree boa.
So, I mean, I think what it is you just have to find like the combination. Like if you were to try to get baby chondros established without talking to anybody, it would be a fucking nightmare. Right. Well, it's still a nightmare, but even then you at least know where to start,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was my thing is I did like, hey, I have chick down. These things aren't eating hot pinks. What's going on, Dayton? And he's like, scratch that, throw it away, get a fuzzy, super hot. And if you're having trouble feeding it the super hot fuzzy, peel the nose back, squeeze the cheeks so a little bit of brain juice comes out, and use that for scenting.
Yeah.
And
I've done the
after
braining and the some of them do like the chick down though, because that's something that I was trying
have tried
to
that?
I have, yeah. I didn't until somebody suggested it, and I was like, well, shit, why haven't I tried that? I'm like, it works with, you wouldn't think it would work with chondros, but it does. And
Exactly.
I tried it, and I got like, 3 or 4 of the ones that were holdouts to eat on that. Seems like the heat is the really important thing.
Yes, that's what I noticed too, is the heat. It needs to be super hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the braining, somebody else told me that, and I tried it. It might have been Dayton. Suggest that, and when I tried it, it worked on a couple of them too. And then that with the chick down, all those little different combinations of things. But the common theme is that they're all super hot.
Yep, super hot, and they like the prey to have fuzz on it, So I've noticed that they're not really interested, even though they look like they probably should take a pinky. They could take a fuzzy. It's a big meal, but most of them can take it.
Yeah, they can take big. Yeah, I've noticed that they can take big meals.
Huge meals for their size,
because they're really bigger than you think. They're just super skinny and long, but their weight, seems to be. I've never taken one out and measured them, but it seems like the adults are, maybe longer than the adult emeralds.
6 feet, 7 feet,
as long, but just skinnier.
Think about what an adult emerald can take, which I can't believe that there's a certain point where you could feed a jumbo rat to an emerald to kick it into.
Oh, I've done it. I've done it plenty of times. Yeah, retired breeder rat to a basin.
But
seriously,
but they handle it. They can handle it.
Yeah, they can handle it.
Yeah, and the Amazon.
I don't do that all the time, but
only at the right time.
But yeah, the Amazons can take big meals, and they like to eat, man. Have a very fast metabolism compared to the emeralds
and the chondros.
Now I'm curious, Randy. Once they're all out and they're out of the mom and whatnot, and you count what's live, what's not. You like to put them together and then house them separately, or what's the steps?
So I like to keep mine all together in a tub with just something in there rough for them to shed on and get up off of the super wet paper towel if they really want to. So I just throw some like little cork in there or whatever, maybe some twigs, or I use like the fencing, like I was saying, or, vinyl coated chicken wire, something like that. But I throw them in there and I want all of them to shed out together. That's how I do it. And then once they shed out, then I'll separate them. And my next available day, because I'm so damn busy with 5 kids and 2 businesses, then that's when I'll feed them. So sometimes it's a week or 2 after they shed. So it's
you're not really rushing it either. I feel like
no, they're going at least probably 3 weeks from the time they drop till they get food.
Yeah. Now, did you have that same approach with your chondro clutches?
No.
Back?
No. I tried to do it right away because I was just so new and nervous, and the third clutch wasn't that bad, but the second one was horrible. And I tried to feed like before they shed, and then some of them shed and wouldn't eat afterwards. That clutch was the worst. So yeah, I've experienced some hardships with those too.
Now, I'm obviously there's one. I mean, what's the ratio right now as far as ones that make it and ones don't, as far as what you've worked with?
Oh, I might have one pass. Like they're not that bad. I mean, last year too, I just produced 2 litters of Dominican red mountain boas. So I mean, you guys want to talk about difficult feeders, like, and those ones actually ate really well, but that was because I was able to provide them lizards. But changing them from lizards to scented fuzzies, that's super difficult. I think that's almost harder than chondros. Depends.
They get pretty stuck and relying on the
lizards.
The lizards.
Yep.
What kind of lizards were you saying? Like what kind of lizards? I'm sorry.
Anoles.
Wow. Where'd you
brown
get those?
anoles? There's a guy named JP in Florida. You need. Have you ever met this guy named Chad? He's in Southern California. He has like the brightest Dominican red mountain boas in the country.
Chad?
Yeah, Golden Coast Exotics.
Oh, yeah. I know
He
who that
does
is.
colubrids.
Yes.
But his Dominicans are top notch. You need to get him on and talk to him about his Dominicans.
Doesn't Chad also, like, I don't know if they have him. He has him anymore, but he has Western Sanzinia.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Chad's awesome.
So, okay, anyway, so but the guy in Florida is where you were getting the nulls from?
Yep. And he gave me that contact. So yeah, he just shipped them to me. He would catch, 100 or 200 at a time. And then I would just pay shipping, get them up here. And then at that point, you're only paying about rodent prices for them anyways, Right. If he's selling them to you for like $1 or $1.50 a piece, it's not that bad.
So do you just throw them in a big thing and feed them, or like what do you?
So the way I did the Dominicans is I would have them in groups. I was super confused how I was going to do it, and I had them in groups. And then what I would do...
I was talking about the anoles. Did you keep them alive, or did you buy them?
So this is what I did. So I had the Dominicans in different groups. As I got the anoles in the mail, I placed 2 anoles that were live in each tub, and then I froze the rest of them. Okay. And then I'd come back the next day and I'd see which 1 or 2 ate the live ones, and then I'd separate those out to their own tub. And then I would keep doing that with the frozen as well. So I would just keep trying that, and then I would keep separating them as ones would eat. And then you're kind of left with, okay, this is the stubborn ones that are, kind of left hanging out here.
You fed them all together, or you fed them while they're all chilling together and see which ones wanted to take all together.
And you would obviously know by looking at their belly which one took it first.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
I mean,
I
think
that.
Warren Booth has done something similar too with some of his Corrales. But that's just what I did with the Dominicans. It worked well. My wife was a champion. She got most of those established. I was busy.
That's shout out to the wives.
That's good. That's good. My ratio is terrible compared to yours. I'm like 50-50 on the babies, getting them established, getting them going.
You let them just shed out first, or
let them shed out first, then I think on the ones it's been by litter. So the 2 litters from my calico, that black calico female that I have, I don't think I have. Well, I know I don't. I don't have any living babies from her, and she's produced like 1 litter that I got 5 from, and then this last litter that she had this year, I only got maybe 2 live ones and a bunch of slugs. But we were talking about the heat earlier, and they were they're like I said, they're just in my ambient temps of my snake room, and it had been a cooler weather when she had them. So I'm wondering if I'm definitely going to turn the heat on later for this gravid female that I have now. But I wonder if that I'm sure that could have had something to do with it.
Maybe it's worth a try.
Yeah.
I mean, because we're obviously talking about how heat could be bad for a certain established animal, but for babies, I think you'd kind of want to keep that obviously not too warm, but warm where they're alert and they're ready to rock and roll. You know what I mean?
So you keep the babies the same way, where they're like low 80 for hotspot, and okay.
Yep, keep them the same way. And I don't know, at least I'm so busy, I'll go in and check on my snakes once or twice a day, but it's never for very long. It's just to kind of see if someone pooped in their water bowl so I could hit that real quick. Or see if something stinks somewhere, and then I'm out, So, I think I just gave them a lot of time with no one walking in front of them, or I don't know. But this last litter was super easy. I just waited, and when I offered them, I had 1 stubborn one that held out, and I said, "Haley, you want to try this one?" She sat on my lap, fed it in front of me.
Nice.
Now, obviously we're talking about how similar these are kept in the beginning, just like any other chondro or emerald, right? You keep it like in a tub type rack system, on paper towels and perches and whatnot, right? And at what age are you doing, like, are you separating your holdbacks and putting it in their grow up, and what would be a grow up for your holdbacks? And
sure,
let's talk about all the way up to adulthood as far as what you keep them in.
So, I mean, I do have tub systems that range from like 6 quart, 15 quart, 66 quart, and then there's like a 32 quart, I think.
Your wife, the wife.
Yeah, I'm in there a while, usually when everyone goes to sleep. But with me, I like to see my animals. When I go in my room, like I like to flip on the switch and just see them all out. So I have a lot of like, they call them like condos, like a 4-tier and a 3-tier. I don't know the exact dimensions, but they fit in a baker's rack. So there's like 4 and then 3 and then 2. And I have a few of those, and that's just where I keep the babies. And then I just, as they get bigger, they'll go down to the 3-tier and then the 2-tier. And then I have 66 quart tubs too that, some of the smaller males and the subadults will go into.
Those are are those in a rack, I guess, or?
Yeah, it's an old like AP rack. That's an arboreal rack. Yeah, I have 4 of those. So they're like 5 tubs each.
Okay. Now, humidity obviously is like, would you say humidity is just as important as emeralds, Marshall? Like what we're talking about here for these?
I would say almost more. I remember like my first litter, I had a out of the 4, like 5 of them, pretty much all of them had bad first sheds. Yeah, I guess I didn't keep him. I guess I had didn't keep him humid enough. Kept him, what I thought was the same that I would do for a chondro or emerald, but I don't know. Maybe I let them dry out or something a little too much.
Yeah,
and had a bunch of bad sheds.
When they're young, like are you talking about like before they have their first shed?
Yeah.
Well, really just babies in general, but yeah, even the first shed. Yeah.
Well, with me, I don't really like to give them a lot of perching options when they first are laid. I like them to be on the paper towel, or they can go up onto the little cork, but the cork is still soaking up quite a bit of moisture, so they're kind of forced down there. If you give them an option to perch, they're going to perch and get away from it, and I think they'll dry out and desiccate a little bit quicker that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they're babies, it's really important to keep them humid, especially up until that like 12 to 18 month period. But I think that, and that's because they're kind of slender, right? So if you have any shedding problems, like just like the tree monitors, MJ, like they'll lose tips of their tail and stuff like that. Like, I don't know if you ever have any problems with any of yours, but one of my females, when she was younger, she had problems with the shedding and she lost a little bit of her tail.
Oh wow! I didn't even know that was the thing. That's crazy.
Yeah, super common with the tree monitors, and it's common with Amazons too if you don't catch it. So it actually
I see it with chondros a lot too.
Yeah, it makes a little ring of shed, and it starts pinching it off, and then anything below that, it's gonna die. Yeah,
that's crazy.
And sometimes that's hard to catch because it's like really thin piece of shed, that you don't know until the skin behind it starts to look a different color. But yeah, I mean, that's really important when they're really young to make sure they can have full sheds. I think as they get older, I'm not as, I don't know, I'm really busy, so I'm not as like on top of the spraying and stuff. I try to make sure that I'm spraying in the winter time, and then the summer I don't really care because the humidity in the Northwest is pretty good.
I was gonna say, you're high humidity. To begin with.
Yeah, weather's ideal up there when it comes for snakes in Washington, I would say.
Yeah,
especially with the rain. With the rain, I bet it's like, oh, we're pairing.
Oh yeah, well, I was planning to pair chondros up, and we got a storm not too long ago, so I just threw them together anyways, and they started locking up. So we'll see how that goes.
What substrate are you using as far as for the adults?
So all my babies are on damp paper towel. That's how I do all my babies. I like cypress mulch. So I like to use cypress mulch for most of my cages. My green tree pythons, if they're in a 66 quart tub, then they have puppy pad. So I know you're anti-puppy pad now, but
hey man, listen,
that's what works.
Check out my YouTube channel, the Trap Vlogs. Why puppy pads are the devil's work. I did. No, listen, man, listen. It's bro. At the end of the day, I only did puppy pads because, I was talking to someone who swears by them because where they're from. My boy Socrates, is in South Florida. He's like you, doesn't have to worry about humidity whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then I realized what Sock does, and I should have asked him, is he flips the puppy pad upside down, because really what Warren dropped some knowledge for me at is that these puppy pads are designed to hold in moisture and not let it expose. It captures it. And I noticed for quite a while that Sock's puppy pads are upside down, and that water, the other side of the material is not the same. It's more the plastic and actually sits on top. So either way, puppy pads for where I live and for what I need them for, my emeralds, man. By the way, I feel like my emeralds are just completely turning the corner and like in a better way too, just because
it just looks better too. You know,
I mean that right there is
smells
awesome.
better in the room. Everything
smells better, but the humidity, I don't have to worry about it. Like I was spraying every fucking day. You know how annoying that gets, and I'm just like,
I don't do that.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure that I mean, I don't know.
I feel like it's quite a bit more maintenance to have them though on Coco. That's the only negative. I've done both.
Well, the thing is, after at least a month, you're gonna want to replace that Coco. You know what I mean? And
that's what I'm saying. That's a pain. It's like, what do you vacuum it out of all the cages, or
I got a shop back, man. I'm good. I mean, I'll just shop back that bitch and
the way. I'll interrupt you real quick, because the way that I have mine, I don't clean them out every month like that. I actually like bacteria to be in there, so I don't want to clean everything out. I've always been raised that sterility is death, so I don't like that. I don't want to, it's not a hospital. You know, these animals are exposed to bacteria. Obviously, we're trying to, circumvent some of that, but I just don't think it's needed. I don't necessarily keep bioactive, but I do keep naturalistic. I do have live plants in a lot of them, and you'll see like springtails and stuff just come out of nowhere and start, but I still go in there and pick up the poop. The only time I do a full enclosure clean is like, it's always spot cleaning and adding more material, disinfecting if there's something bad. But if there's something nasty like a regurgitation, if they drop a load of babies, if the animal passes away, these are that means that I have to go in there and I have to completely sanitize everything.
Yeah.
But if I don't have that, like I haven't had that in a long time, years, so they're just growing in there and there's plants everywhere, and I just fill the water bowl and I change, deli cup water bowls. I just change those out. Wednesdays and Sundays are usually my days to do that.
Yeah.
But it's all growing. I mean, you can say it's kind of like a semi-bioactive, but there's no drainage layer. I don't spray them that heavy. I just give the plants water, give them fresh water. Actually, I just take their water that's old, dump it in the plants, and then a new deli cup for them.
I mean, this is the closest I've ever gotten to doing bioactive anything. I'm pretty excited. I might go get some fucking isopods, toss in like fucking 50 per enclosure, and just call it a day, and we'll be all right.
Well, because when you spot clean, you're gonna miss a little teeny piece here and there.
Urate, think about the urates that cripple. And honestly, I'm like you. I'm not opposed to leaving that, especially when it comes to breeding. Like if it's females or something, like the male's gonna want to smell that all day.
Oh, my Dominican cage was disgusting when they were breeding, but that's what I was told, to leave them alone.
Yeah. I mean, you got that aroma in the air. That's kind of what they're looking for.
Yeah. Well, it was gross. I mean, because I put 2 males with 1 female, so they both males wrapped up on the female, and there was musk everywhere. Oh, it was just everywhere. It was horrible.
Yeah, we're talking Amazon tree boas are just not 100%, but they perch mostly all the time. That's what they do, right? Just like a condor and an emerald. Or
no. They're going to be kind of some people say 50-50. I would say mine are more like 60-40. Most of them perch. And that's because I set my cages up for that, right? If I have any heat sources, they're always towards the top of the cage. And I add a lot of perching up high and no hides down low. So if you add a hide down low, the snake will always go in there at the end of the, during the day. Safety. If you have an arboreal hide, it's always going to be in there. That's just how the snakes are going to retreat. But they'll find areas in the cage that they can take refuge from. And that's why I like to put the plants in there. The plants will continue to grow, and they
hide a lot. They're definitely they're not comfortable being out in the open like a chondro or emerald.
Yeah. But
get underneath the paper. Like I don't have them any hides in mine, but they'll get under the paper and they'll get like in some of them there's a gap between the heat panel and the ceiling. It's like an inch gap.
I have
and
one that does that all the time.
There will be like 2 adults crammed up in there, between the heat panel and the ceiling.
But there's no heat, right? There's no heat.
No,
right?
there's no heat. There's no heat on. They're unplugged. But I just haven't taken them out of the cage, and they will use the top of that as a hide. I mean, it's like a crack about this big, but they're in it.
I think though that
50%
if you're able
of the time.
to give your Amazon something that they can, like if you give them a cork tube that's a little bit tighter in diameter, they could stuff themselves in there, and you necessarily will have a hard time getting them out, but you could just take that out and clean the cage if you wanted to do that. Right. It's going to help them build confidence to know that you can't, every time that they go in there, they're going to feel safe. It doesn't matter where the hide is, if it's up or down, or I like cork. So I put cork in there so they can kind of stuff themselves in little areas. But then I kind of make it to the point where you're going to see them most of the time. So that's just kind of how I set mine up.
Oh, it's interesting. And correct me if I'm wrong, but they all look like they bite. They all look like little fuckers. I mean,
they're just like real. They're real active, and they don't just sit there. But I've never been bitten by one. Like
they're
cool.
They're super like a nervous, right?
Right.
I mean, they're always prey in the wild, so they have to be defensive and protect themselves. And the only way they know how to do that is throw their face at you, right? I mean, that's the only. But their strike is so pathetic. I mean, you could see it coming from a mile away. If you have any snakes, especially chondros, like a chondro, like heat seeks, they have that like fast, like head twitch, and then they can like lock on and just attack. The Amazons are really like real slow, and they'll go up. That what they're gonna do, and they don't have a lot of power behind their bite because they're so thin. So
their mouths are only so big too, so it's like they can't.
Yeah, I mean their teeth are longer because they're an arboreal species, but it's not like as bad as a green tree python bite. I rarely ever get bit, just because I think confidence is key with almost any animal. Is just going in there and getting it, not thinking you're going to get bit, but then also know how to redirect the animal when something looks like it's off. Like redirecting your animal so that it's facing a different direction. But there's signs, that you can kind of see when the animal's getting triggered to bite, and I'm just good at observing that, and I don't really get bit by them at all. I'm really confident. I go in there and I just handle them. I try to show people that like they'll know the difference, right? I can offer my hand and they'll smell it. I can also offer food and they'll take it. Right. Like they know the difference, but you have to be willing to also put in that time with them, because it's like you're building a rope out of threads, and each piece of that rope is just one little thread at a time, and you have to build these good interactions every single time you open that cage. I always say, like, end on a positive note. Like when I'm teaching my kids, like if you're taking your pet out and you interact with it, never put it away if something bad happens. Like try to keep it out a little bit. Yeah. And then as it's, it's a good interaction, then you end on that.
Yeah. I learned that from Kevin McCurley. He mentioned that when I was trying my best to get my Nile monitor at the time to be cool. And I was thinking, and I was just obsessing over his practices. And I want to tell you, man, when it comes to learning how to work with monitors, really hard to fucking beat Kevin McCurley. So I just try to pay attention to a lot of his stuff. And one thing that did help a little bit was, like, even if this fucker's fucking you up, don't put him away like that. Like, calm him down. Get him to, like, either go back in on his own, but just don't fucking, like, oh my God, freak out and throw him back in there, because they don't forget that shit. And a lot of these reptiles, at least the reptiles that I'm keeping, you know, they're very routine, man. Like they understand the routine of things, especially, you know, we're talking about how, you know, I mean, a lot of people in Marshall, you know, this is true too. Like and even you, Randy, they think, oh my God, your emerald tree boa or your chondro must be so mean. Like, how do you handle it? And it's like, that's not really the case. Yes. I mean, they're ready to rock and roll for food, but once you have it out and once they know that, okay, there ain't no food around, this isn't what this is, they don't give a fuck. Right. But once food is around, once food is in the air, you don't handle the animal the same. It's a whole other approach, but that's because of the routine of things. Like that room isn't always smelling like a thawed out rat or whatever, but that's
every time it does, they get fed.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But so, you know, it's, you know, man, I just wish, and I think people will get the understanding, you know, especially people who are so afraid of a certain animal. And then once they own it, they're like, oh, that's not too bad. But that's just kind of reading them. Like, man, you know, white lips. Have you ever worked with white lips, Randy?
Yes, I have. I've bought them and sold them multiple times.
Bro, you want to talk about
love-hate relationship with them.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I'm glad we can relate on this, Marshall, for sure. Because here, one thing about Marshall,
I fucking hate keeping them. I love looking at them.
Marshall said this, I think, on the very first episode, that he's really good at not getting bit. Like you do, like you purposely work around not getting bit, right, Marshall? No. Like that's always your game.
White lips will throw their body at you.
Dude, you could have a white
launch off the table.
You could have a white lip that's having a good day, and it could just be like, no, I'm not going to have a good day. And it just turns around and bites you.
Yeah.
Bro, it gives you no signs that it's going to bite you. It's like it almost sits there and thinks until it's ready. And correct me if I'm wrong, it has the most teeth out of any python species, a white lip, from what I heard.
I think so.
Yeah. You don't stop bleeding for a while. I've been bit by a full-on adult male, bro, and that shit hurt so bad. He like clamped on for a while too, because I didn't, you know, I was like, all right, he'll let go. No,
are you still working with those?
Oh yeah, I got a nice pair, man. Or I got a nice. I don't know. I don't want to get off topic, but sold to me as BAC localities, and I heard there is no such thing as a BAC locality white lip, but these things are super dark. I don't know if you've seen pictures of them at all, Randy.
Oh, I think I have. Yeah, I probably have.
I have a really high gold one, which I think that's kind of like like a standard thing to come across, the high gold white lips. But then there's this other one, and I'll send you pictures later. But it's like black, and that was the one that was labeled a BAC locality. And yeah, they have their days, but bro, I could pull them out. I actually cohabitate them now. They're in the 6x3x3, and seem to be doing like way better ever since. Because I ran into someone at the Reptile Super Show who had success breeding them like 3 years in a row, and he said that he it all worked out for him when he cohabitated them, and gave him a hot spot of 90, but then the other side of the enclosure was like low 70s, or like mid, but they just need that gradient. They need that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so see what happens. But they're big, bro. I've had them eating like monsters for like the last 2 years, and right now I'm about to food cycle them and see what happens. But yeah, I can't. That's like, I know I've gone a lot through transitions with the last year of wanting to kind of like not work with things, but that right there, I'm holding on to for dear life.
Yeah,
I love, you know, it's like that love-hate, like you said, but man, I love being able to just have them. You know what I mean?
I bought 2 pairs and sold them in 2 different times. Yeah, it's just.
Dude, I used to have 8. Do you remember how many I used to have at one point, Randy? I had 8 white lips, and they were fucking psychotic. And once I found a pair that were like
Timors too, those are also crazy too.
I had 13 Timors. Those were all like, the reason why I kept going apeshit about Timors, because everyone's like, you can't handle them, dude. I was handling mine all the time. And I just think also, I think I got my hands on some good Captain Border brands from his name's Mike in Florida, Sundown Reptiles, or what is it, Sunrise, or either way, some guy, Sunset. Thank you, Sunset. I got some Captain Born and bred from him, and that's when I really fell in love with the Timors, because I was like, dude, these things are fucking great. But then it's also just like the white lips. It's just a matter of time where they're going to musk on you or do something where you're like, okay, I'm putting this shit away. And that's why I was like, man, I just really started looking at things that were giving me headaches. And I was like, I need to start eliminating.
You got to do that sometimes, man. Yeah. That's a good thing, though. That means that you're focused on something, and you got to part with stuff that, you know, that they can go elsewhere and get better care, you know.
And they all did. No, and luckily, the one thing I do love all my followers about is like, it's not too hard for me to find someone to put some of these like if I had to, I could, you know, it might get difficult at some point, but most of these could be put into the right hands. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because the people that I keep in my circle and people I follow and follow me. And so it's a beauty about this thing, but also I'm at that point where there's nothing I really want to get rid of other than maybe a big snake. That's about it. I'm starting to realize that the bigger the snake, the more of the headache. So I'm starting to like, I'm coming down just a little bit. Like I went on this crazy rant about wanting to be done with the Superdor for ticks, but I lied to myself. I can't get rid of them. Like that's I know, but I don't even have a lot. I have my one big 12-foot female, and she's there.
That's huge, man.
It is. I know. When I'm
like that Superdorf is so odd to me because it's like, to me, anything over 6 feet is too big. You know what I mean? Like,
they only get 6 feet though.
No, fuck that.
It's like you go to a store.
I've been around too long to see those.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, imagine big and tall people not being able to go to a big and tall store because they're trying to lie to you that you're not big and tall and you could fit into these regular size clothes, but you can't. You need big and tall department stores, and so
I have to buy talls. I'm 6'4", man.
Hey, do you know what's great? Because I try to like anytime I get merch and I try to reach out, like, you know, I try to reach out to people. I'm like, hey, I would love to give you some shirts, and you gotta love the people go, do you have any XL talls? And I'm like, bro, listen, I don't. I have what I have. Do you want it or not? Like,
I'll wash it twice, and it's a pajama shirt. You know what I mean?
Okay, you know, I'm curious about the Amazon tree boa market.
Yeah.
You know, obviously there's been a lot of talk about like, oh, I can't sell a snake, my ball python won't sell, or like, oh, it's just the whole market's saturated. Where's the Amazon tree boa market from what you can see right now?
Well,
like,
I think what it is most of the people who are breeding Amazon tree boas do not do this for a living. They just do it for a hobby. So they don't really care what the market looks like. And that's kind of how I am. That's how probably Dayton is too. Like, we're still selling animals, right? You know, there's only so many Amazon tree boa like breeders consistently. I think if it's kind of lower end stuff and it's like imports, it might sit for a while, or you'll have to lower your prices. But everything that I've produced, like, I've never even posted on MORPH market ever. You know, people just reach out to me and say, hey, I heard you had these. And I mean, I sold 28 Dominican red mountain boas last year and didn't post any of them except for like a little on Instagram, and that's about it.
And Marshall, the only thing you're posting on MORPH market is ball pythons, from what I understand. Yep. Oh, wait, you dropped a couple. You did a couple of basins at one point, right?
Yeah, I put some basins up.
Those didn't last at all.
No, but he knows enough people. He could probably sell them behind closed doors if he wanted to too.
Those basins, those basins didn't last long at all, right, Marshall? From what I understand.
I mean, one lasted like an hour, and the other one lasted like a week. So yeah, they went quick.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how many people, Marshall, have reached out to you about Amazon tree boas, and you've had to tell them no?
Everybody except for one guy. You know, one guy was like, hey, I want I want a trio, and I'll take these three, and just made it real easy. Those were the three I wanted to sell, and didn't have any problems.
Yep. Yeah, no, I don't think, I think that's pretty common right now. You know, I know you guys are seeing that because, I mean, let's face it, the ball python market is much more saturated, right, compared to any other industry right now. I think the next industry that would get hit would probably be colubrids, you know, corn snakes, stuff like that.
Not the corn snakes.
Corn snakes, yeah, crested geckos, that kind of stuff.
I mean, stuff that's being overproduced.
Yeah, I think like the market for chondros and Amazons and emeralds and your nicer higher end stuff. Not that ball pythons can't be high end, but the market for those is not as down as ball pythons. You can't judge the rest of the market by what ball pythons are doing.
Yeah,
you can't. That's why it's like, I don't know. I mean, Randy, you already said that you know most of the stuff you work with isn't really primarily for a financial gain. It's just kind of just you to just, I mean, you get off on producing sick shit. You know what I mean? But like, what would you say the one thing you are relying on? I mean, because everything feeds itself, right? Like your hobby, you should what you do should be able to feed what you want to continue to do within the hobby, right? And what would you say the one thing you work with will be able to do something like that? Would it be the Amazon tree boas?
Yeah, the Amazons will. I mean, I do like the Chilobothris too, the Dominican red mountain boas.
Those are sick. Bro. Not enough of those at all.
Yeah, and those are super easy to sell because they're pretty rare. And
what'd you sell those for? What'd you sell those for? What'd those go for?
And I wanted to make sure that I priced them at something reasonable for everyone to buy. So I priced my pastels at 500, and I posted my reds for 750.
They're on Nerd right now for 3K. So I'm just
I know. No, the thing is, they probably are something super high, but I wanted everyone to be able to get one if they wanted one. And at that many that I had, you know, I sold them fast. I used the money and took my kids down to Disneyland a couple weekends ago.
Damn, that.
You know, but then I get, you know, rodents and stuff like that. A local person that helps me out, Puget Sound Pythons, Jeff and Kendra, they help me out a lot. So anytime I need rodents, I can just go down there and pick them up.
That's a huge plug right there.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, because I've bred them before. I won't fucking do it again. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I'm allergic to them, and it's a nightmare. I hate even breeding dubia roaches.
You should get in the grasshopper game. That's fun.
I've tried. I tried twice. I killed them. I threw them away. It was bad.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
you got it.
I just sucked at it. You know, like the monitors too. Like that's.
Do you still have the green tree monitors?
I do.
Did you have
green tree monitors? Yeah, and that will be this next breeding project. I want to just kind of see if I can breed chondros again. So I have a couple pairs going there, and then I want to focus on the green tree monitors, see if I can get those going. I tried to breed Savannah monitors. I built a huge enclosure in my garage that was insulated. Perfect. I was able to keep like 2 feet of substrate at the bottom, and I had them breeding, but the female killed the male. And I came home from the zoo and she killed him. So
like he was just rolled out dead, or she like ate him?
She like grabbed his skull, I guess, and flipped him. And when she flipped him, I don't know if she broke his neck or if he hit something inside the cage, you know, but he was upside down with his tongue out when I came home.
Oh, that's brutal. And how long were they together for?
So I bought them both together, and I would keep them off and on together their whole life. So anytime I saw interaction that was negative, I would separate them out. But I was trying to breed them, so I wanted them to get used to each other, some introduction, because I like the challenge of that. Like no one is taking the time to try to breed that species. So I really wanted to do it right, you know, and I built a big enclosure for them and everything was perfect, had the right lighting. They were breeding. He was copulating her. She let him. But I think what happened is she was either about to become gravid or she was, and she dumped the eggs somewhere and he ate them or something happened, but there was a dispute there and she killed him.
She wanted him out. She wanted him out of the picture. And
I wasn't around to take him out.
That's my biggest fear with Mac. That's my biggest fear with Mac Dre and Alice, man, because, you know, as far as everything right now goes, it's great. But if there's a certain time where she feels she needs to protect something or she's over it, those fucking females will just say, fuck it.
The female monitors are freaking crazy.
They are nuts, bro. They don't give a fuck. And it's like, you have to be on top of that shit. Like,
you have to be willing to lose your male.
Yeah, or lose, you could lose the female.
It's serious, man. Like that male could go. So
damn, it's a bummer, man. So
that's insane. Like to think about them, like, you know, just flying off the handle and killing the other one.
Yeah, and I knew from that point, I was like, I could not get another male and try to reintroduce him to that girl in that cage. She would do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I reached out to my buddy Jay from JLCL Reptiles, and he's one of the only people in the States that actually breeds Savannah monitors. So I just said, hey, you pay for shipping. I'm just going to send her up to you. She's perfect weight. She's still nice and small, nice body weight to her. She's like almost 4 years old. Perfect to breed. And so he bred her, got infertils, this year, so he's going to try again next year.
This is
So,
Savannah monitors you're talking about?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
My
Jay
buddy's
produces
got
them.
my buddy's got black throats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's got a crazy setup, and he's had a pair of them now. He's got a pair of adults, and man, they're big. Like I don't know
Yeah.
how
The
much they
blacks are the
weigh,
biggest ones.
but yeah,
But for
they're
some
the
reason, people have
males
had more
especially.
success with the black throats and the white throats than they have with Savannah monitors. Even Kevin McCurley couldn't get him to go.
Yeah. Damn. So right now, overall, what's going on with that monitor enclosure that you built? Is it kind of just
It's just sitting there right now with the dubia roaches inside of it, so that they don't get out. But no, I'm actually going to redo that whole enclosure for my female pumpkin, my Dominican red mountain boa.
nice?
So she's in a 4-foot right now, but I'm gonna be able to give her a huge enclosure. I'll probably put both the females in there, because eventually I'm supposed to be gifted some Jamaican boas. So
Oh, those are sick.
yeah, since I had some success with the Dominicans, I actually had 2 people reach out and say that they would be willing to gift me 2 pair if they had any this season. So I just want to make sure I have room for those growing up too. So that'll become my plan with that big cage.
The Jamaican boas come in different localities, right? Like there's different types of Jamaican boas. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think there's different phases. There's definitely a yellow and like a red phase, like an orange. But I think what it is there's Chilobothris is the genus. There's a lot of subspecies that look really similar. So the Dominicans, the Puerto Ricans, the
Is it Grenadensis like that?
No, the Grenadensis looks a lot like a Amazon tree.
Amazon, more like an Amazon. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's Corrales. The Chilobothris, they have a lot. I mean, there's Cuban boas. That's another one too. And they all look a little bit different, kind of similar to that Dominican body shape. Actually, what it was is they were all classified with Brazilian rainbow boas for a while, the rainbow boa clade, and then they separated those out. So they do act very similar to the rainbow boas, but they're much more slender. You can tell they're much more arboreal.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. They're fun.
So now, Randy, one of the biggest things for the reptile industry is obviously the new keeper coming in. And I would say it was just like kind of like me. The gateway reptile for me was ball pythons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I obviously steered away and started obsessing about other stuff. But how are you feeling about Amazon tree boas kind of being that next species of a new keeper to get into? Like, are you safe to say that these are that easy to keep if they just followed instructions, or let's overall, keeping this thing? How would you say that to a new keeper? Would you
yeah, absolutely. And actually I have a few mentors locally too, because I've been like going to the expos since I started 2008, 2007, something like that. I've been going to all the local expos. So I know a lot of people, and I'll usually just piggyback off a friend if I have a couple leftover animals or something. Mm-hmm. But I mean, being a business owner, you're, just being in the business and the public's eye all the time anyways, you have to learn how to talk to people.
Yeah.
And one of the things is, I have kids, so I'm pretty empathetic to like making sure the kids are having a good time at the expos. Right. And all the kids want to hold snakes, right? So when I was with people, Brad's World's Reptiles or whatever, he's an old school 70s breeder. But he would always have like a ton of extra ball pythons. So I'm like, hey, all these normals, like we're going to set these aside. They're going to be holders. Like I want the kids to be able to come up and hold an animal, and they can hold these normals, right? Like you're not worried about losing them. Like if something happens, I'll pay for it, And so the kids would come up and they would just have a blast. Like I remember, going to shows way later, and they said, oh, I remember you were the only guy that let me hold a snake, at the show. And that does something for people. So taking that mentality over to the Amazons, like they could be pretty testy, right? Like Marshall was saying, like, sometimes they could be a little nippy. So what I do is I handle them a lot at home if I know that I'm trying to sell them, so that people know they're somewhat desensitized, and I could show them like, hey, I'm not doing voodoo or anything. I'm just using the animal and its reactions against itself almost. And so when the animal is starting to react, you just redirect the animal, or you could raise the animal up higher above your head. Like there's certain things that you can do to kind of help that animal feel calm and not get bit, you know. So I'm at the show. I usually say, okay, well, I'm going to take an Amazon. I'm gonna be playing with this Amazon when people are walking by the show. And most people would be like, dude, that's crazy, you know, but it's usually a smaller one. And I'm not worried about like if it bit someone, it's not going to be like the end of the world. But I'm usually standing back and I'm holding an Amazon. And what this does is it draws a lot of attention towards that, because they know it's not a ball python and they know it's not a typical boa. And they say, well, what is that? It's not a green tree python, because that's usually the other thing that they've heard. So then that engages some of that conversation. I'm able to start educating them on the snake themselves. And they say, oh, an Amazon tree boa, I heard those are horrible, you know. But then they're looking at the one that I'm holding and they're like, what?
Yeah.
And I said, well, you know, if you're not worried about getting bit, I'll let you step back here and I'll let you hold it. I said, the snake has teeth. Any animal that has teeth can bite. I said, but if you get bit, it almost feels like if someone were to take a blackberry bush and just like tap you on the hand. It's more
startling. It's more like,
exactly,
holy shit, what just happened?
It's just scary.
And even with the chondro bite, unless I will say I've had a chondro hit like a vein one time, and
have they hung their tooth up before?
Dude, yeah,
that shit sucks.
I got like a lump. I had a sore ass lump on my wrist for like 4 days, and I was like, okay, this hurts. But other than that, I would say 8 out of 10 times it ain't shit. It's like a little tiny like a tiny prick.
You bleed a lot, but it doesn't
exactly
leave a mark, you know. I mean, after like a day.
No, my son actually the other day, he's like, is that the female Amazon that just laid the babies? I was like, yeah, she's usually pretty good. You want to hold her? And he said, okay. And he grabbed her neck and she just turned around and bit him. And then he just looked down at her and he looked at me and he said, I thought you said this one was cool. and then that was it, you know, like that was his reaction. Yeah. Like, so they're not as bad as people make them out to be. Just like the green tree pythons, they can be worked with.
Right.
I'm sure you have green tree pythons that are like puppy dog almost, and some of them that are not like that. And that's kind of like, they all have personalities too. I would say out of all my snakes, I could hold all of them. There's probably 3 that are assholes. And the rest of them are fine.
That should be common. It's like, just like humans, like they're all, you know, you're going to have that 1 or 2 or 3 assholes. Like, what are you going to do about it? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's
part of snake keeping, you know,
work around them, you know, like, I mean, trust me, there's personalities in almost anything that we're talking about right now. And you just got to have a different approach maybe to certain ones.
But I think what drew most of us to these snakes is kind of that little intimidation,
curiosity,
fear and curiosity, you know, like, is it going to bite me? And like learning the body mannerisms of these animals, and you can kind of predict those things, you know, like before it ever happens. Yeah. And so I just try to show people that in person, like at the expos and stuff, like, hey, you know, you guys can, you can hold it. And I've actually had a lot of people, they said, you know, I was going to come here and buy, like, it was last year. And this lady's like, you know, I was going to come here and buy a Mexican black king snake, but this, you know, Halloween Amazon tree boa you put in my hands, I've just fallen in love with it. And I'm going to get this instead. That's her first snake.
Way cooler purchase. No offense, but I mean, I'm just saying, king snakes are gross. Yep. They must all and shit.
And king snakes, talk about king snakes biting. I mean, Mexican blacks
they got
aren't as bad.
Crazy feeding
California
response.
Are horrible. They'll just launch out at you all the time.
Yeah.
For no reason.
That's how mine.
Like
that's how mine were.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No thanks. But yeah, I mean, that's I do think people can get a green tree python as their first snake too if they do all the research and they're up for the challenge, right? I think people need to figure out what they really want by doing the research first, and then asking people before they get any animals, and then selecting that one animal that they're absolutely head over heels for. It doesn't matter what the care is, because then they'll care for that animal optimally, I think.
Randy, so I got to ask you this, and Marshall, I want to hear it from you too. you know, we do our parts where if someone comes respectfully and they have a tons of questions, and let's just say maybe they're inquiring about an Amazon tree boa or an emerald tree boa or an emerald tree boa, whatever. Like, let's just say that they're really interested, right? And they get all the information they get from you, and the last thing they ended on is, I think I need to do a ton of research and get back to you. Don't you feel like a ton of research could kind of just like that? It's not maybe the ton of research you need to fucking do. It's just some of the stuff you need to understand that you're getting into, and then let the experience be the best teacher for you. I feel like some people do too much in their head with this whole, I need to do a ton of research, because there's not much ton to understand as far as keeping goes. Now, breeding, okay, I could understand what you need to research and who you need to talk to. But as far as keeping goes, it's not overthought. It doesn't need to be overthought out, I don't think.
And I don't think so. And so one of the selling points that you could have too, though, is if they are interested in the animal and they wanted to purchase it, then they could also have you in their back pocket that they can call and ask any questions about, right? And that's going to be far greater than any research they could probably ever do, right? I mean, I've had people at reptile expos bring their kids over, or bring someone else's kid over, or bring a person over and say, hey, this person's obsessed with Amazons. They've never bought anything from me, but just because they are, like, I want to help them out, you know, like, and you will make a sale later, right? But yeah, you don't need to do a ton of research. I think most people like us that have been in the hobby, we could go out and get almost any species out there and know how to keep the basics of a python or a boa or a colubrid, and we could keep it alive until we find out the little details that we probably need to make it thrive, right? I think people just need to know the basics for a lot of these animals, and then from there they can get that guidance from the seller that they're buying from.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I like, you know, if you're coming to somebody for advice and they're giving you advice, and you know that this person is trustworthy, then what other fucking research do you need? I'm confused. Like, you have somebody, like, you're locked in.
I think you got to understand like the concepts of what you're trying to do, right? And so maybe what works for me doesn't work for you, or like maybe I'm telling you something and my room is a different temperature, you know, like, who knows? I've always been like I go off the deep end. I obsess about whatever it is. Snakes, you know, like, you know,
research.
Cars, you know, like if I'm doing a project, like I just go down the wormhole of everything. So to me, like, not, you know, to me, yeah, a lot of research is, you know, like I would do it if it was me getting into it. Not saying you have to, but I think you'd be better off.
Yeah. When I find I'm probably like you guys, when you find something that you're really interested in, it's hard to stop looking into that. You know, you like, oh, this new species, and then you just go ham on all that info as much as you can get, asking everyone all those questions until you get to like this basic understanding of, okay, but you're still learning as you go, but it's a lot slower after that period, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that anybody willing, Amazon tree boas are a super hardy species, right? They're super easy to keep if you keep them in the correct parameters, which are pretty wide compared to a lot of arboreal snakes. You know, they can be kept in small. I've seen people keep them in snake RHACS. I mean, I wouldn't want to keep them like that because I like to see them. But they can be kept like that. They can be kept in large enclosures, like bioactive. I think Amazon tree boas are probably one of the better snakes for bioactive enclosure because they're so hardy. I would always suggest you quarantine that animal first, make sure the animal's healthy, make sure your system is set up first before you integrate them, and then have a way to take that animal back out if anything ever happens. But Amazons, they're easy to breed, you know. They really don't need a ton of cycling. A lot of people will say, yeah, I do this and drop my temps and all that. I mean, I know my room fluctuates up and down, so I just watch the females. If I notice that, you know, she's tucked in the corner, she's trying to get cool, or if I see any follicular, you know, swelling, the animal looks larger and I know I haven't fed it in a while, I'll just try a male. You know, a lot of times at nighttime, you'll go into the room and you'll see males just cruising around and you're like, I just fed you like 3 days ago, you know?
He wants to get laid.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know, or they're not eating because they completely want. So you start to learn those small things and you're like, you know what? Okay. I'm going to take, like, that's what I do with my chondros, right? I just saw my males cruising. The females are kind of sitting in a different spot. Storm's coming in. Man, might as well. Well, let's try it. And they locked up and I was like, okay, well, I separated them out and I just fed them and I'm going to feed them again. Then I'm going to introduce them again. You know?
I mean, I feel like a lot of things come with observing what you're working with. And I think paying attention closely to stuff like that, you know, males cruising, going off food, storms coming, like, you know, I think that's kind of where, I don't know, like, you know, I like being so hands-on because I could tell when shit like this is going to be going down.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of you know, Marshall was talking about how more maintenance it is for the cocoa chip, but like I'm almost looking for more maintenance just because I like to be like more hands-on with shit like this. I feel like it's like, you know, we're talking about being obsessed. I mean, I'm just so obsessed with this shit at this point where if I could do anything to help either enrichment or whatever, or give it more security or fresh water, as I like to do, you know, I like to give everything fresh water. Fuck. You know, I don't know. I just I like being more hands-on.
I don't necessarily know if like a particulate substrate is more work, you know, because you're spot cleaning throughout like maybe the month or whatever.
It's for you,
Yeah,
you know?
it just depends. Yeah,
Because
it just depends.
paper's a pain in the ass. Like
It is, and it's gross.
It is.
I have all my ball pythons on paper, which is funny because he has all his ball pythons on cocoa.
Yeah.
So we're
I
like,
do.
the
Yeah.
opposite. So I have all my ball pythons on paper, and I'm in here so much where it's nothing for me to do a paper change, and it's quick, right? It's boom, boom, boom. But also it makes the room smell worse.
Yes.
Because when anything that shits on paper, you smell it immediately. You're just
immediately.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the only downfall versus the good aroma of cocoa fiber. You know what I mean?
I mean, I kind of the only reason I like it is because it's like, okay, like something in here is dirty, you know, like you don't even have to go look at every tub. You just, you know, immediately.
Yeah. So,
and I don't know, I guess my room's a little bit smaller too. It's only like not even 10. It's like 9.5 by 8.5, I think.
Yeah.
So it's just a little room. It just keeps me humble and able to go in there and kind of check things out. But yeah, I just spot clean. If I see something nasty, then yeah, that's when I'm going to be, you know, breaking a cage down or something like that. But for the most part, like with my Amazons, everything I use cypress, except for my green tree pythons that are in the 66 quarts. I use puppy pads. The Dominicans are a different story though. I use peat moss, like 1.5 inches, 2 inches of peat moss at the bottom. And then I cover that with like 1 inch or 2 inches of cypress mulch on top of that. And so they musk so much, and it'd probably be good for Timors too, but they musk so much. What happens is it just goes through and it absorbs like kitty litter. So then you just get these flat pieces like kitty litter, and you can just pick those out. You know, the peat moss really just, it's so dry underneath that it just like helps everything go together like kitty litter.
Yeah.
That's crafty. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. That's a good idea.
I talked Nick.
So they're messy. They're messy. The Dominican. They are. They like to musk and stuff like that.
And they get a lot bigger than an Amazon tree boa too, right?
Mine are, I mean, thicker. Yes. Thicker. You know, like they're in 4-foot cages. I would say my biggest female, she's a 2015. She's probably just under 5 feet. 5 feet. She's not very big.
And the arboreal to floor ratio is about the same as Amazon tree boas. Like they kind of act and behave the same, or no?
They're more terrestrial for sure. When they're younger, they do like to climb a lot. Like if you have babies, if you have any tubs that have like 2-tiered lips or anything, they'll always try to be up on that lip of the tub. The babies really like to climb a lot as they get older, probably like a common boa, that they're going to be more terrestrial, but they're much more narrow. So you can tell that they're better equipped for, you know, the trees than like a BCI or something like that.
Damn. You want to know the problem with me having an Amazon tree boa episode?
What's
It's
that?
like I got the itch, bro. Like I got an itch right now.
Wait till you see Dayton's shit too, man.
I'm not lying, but just seeing your stuff, bro. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, holy shit, these
So
things are really awesome.
This is what I tell people. I think a lot of people that are in ball pythons, they love the morphs, they love the genetics when it comes to this.
Right.
But on the other hand, they see like the pinnacle of reptile keeping is arboreal snakes. That's just kind of how the industry views things.
It's in the trees.
And so I think people who are a little bit intimidated to get into chondros and emeralds, they could start with an Amazon, or they can really look into Amazons because they are a lot easier to keep, and there's way more colors. And I'll say this, way more variation than ball pythons ever started with.
Yeah,
ever.
Yeah, it's kind of got that mix of both, you know, both types. You've got the morphs, and you've got their, you know, and they're something a little different.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good mix between.
You know, ball pythons popularity. They are king when it comes to morphs, but they don't even have the nicest morphs in the fucking hobby. Like they're like even reticks. There's retic morphs.
Yes,
that pop way harder than ball pythons. But then again, it's a retic. Who the fuck wants that?
Giant snake. Yeah. Telephone pole. You know. Yeah.
Now, okay, I have a wrap up question for you. Okay,
sure.
Before we get into some hot seat questions, and Marshall, if you want to get maybe a wrap up question in your head loaded, that'd be great too. Maybe if you could think of one.
Sure.
But if not, no big deal, because David Levison never does, so it's no big deal. Hey, I gotta ask you, man. Like at the end of the day, I love the passion. Like obviously, passion comes first for me when it comes to these animals. But I love making money, man. I love money too. And the reason why I'm getting at this is, you obviously, like we're talking about Bloody Mary, Hellboy. These aren't your fucking common introduction into Amazon tree boas. Like these have to be your higher end ones, correct?
Yes.
So let's just say you get into the point where you're cranking out some Hellboys, some Bloody Mary type stuff. Like where do you take the market at that point? Because I get it, you want everyone to get their hands on stuff, but what about the stuff that matters to you the most? Like the stuff that you're really trying to hit. That, I mean, has anyone hit this type of stuff yet? First and foremost, like the stuff that you're going for, and I'm curious. When you hit it, where do you plan on taking the market and whatnot? So, I mean,
I will say I've already been offered twice for Freak Show. Someone's offered me 3,500 and I've declined, and someone's offered me 5,000 and I've declined. So I think the extreme calicos will be up there with, you know, chondro prices around that. Maybe not super designer stuff, but I mean around that price range. I think you can get a regular calico for, you know, 1,000 or something like that. Maybe just kind of a standard red for even under 1,000. But the higher end stuff, I think it is going to deserve a higher price tag for sure. It's much more rare because right now we really don't know how it's reproduced either. So if we see them, most likely we're going to keep them back, or we're going to kind of spread them between the Amazon keepers in the background.
And we're talking about maybe potential new lines of stuff that you're working with, and make like new names for stuff in the future and whatnot.
Yep, definitely. And that's where I started from. I actually, I used to get Cam's mailing list from Bushmaster. So when I got back into the hobby, that's where I started with. I wanted to get a whole bunch of imports, see which ones were good. My vet helped me get them all cleaned up, sold the ones I didn't want. And now I have wild import stock, as well as I try to get the best calicos from all the top breeders in the country. So now I can kind of integrate stuff, and I've already bred some imports, and they've been producing some oddballs, what I call like dinker projects, like you guys are doing. So I have like a yellow calico dinker project that a female will be dropping for me soon, and then I have like a really, really dark Halloween project that I'm working on too.
Fuck yeah. Stoked
so
for you.
There will be a lot of morphs that come out. There's a lot of things. Cody Joe in Canada popped out some crazy shit. Some girl named Chelsea popped out some cool shit. So I mean, you never know. It's kind of even the playing field right now because we're so new.
This Chelsea right here?
I think so.
Yeah. She's coming on Trap Talk in a few weeks. I'm just kidding. She keeps telling me. Never mind.
Pablo, I'm pretty sure it's Pablo that she had. That snake is sick.
Shout out to Chelsea. Come on my show.
So how close do you think we are to fully understanding the Amazon tree boa genetics?
I mean,
That's my wrap up question.
That's the same thing with green tree pythons, right? Like, how close are you guys to understanding that? It's similar.
I mean, in my opinion, we're nowhere other than we know there's a super red. But I mean, do you think they are going to be like ball pythons eventually, where like
not
we know
to that extent? You know, I think we will go that route because I think it'll be more like the boa constrictors, but I don't know if there will be as many, and they're going to be harder to produce than a ball python, but not that much harder, you know. And some people won't like it because the babies will be a little bit nippy, you know. So I think that'll kind of keep some people away. But I think the ones who are interested in working
but what about just understanding, like saying, okay, like we know that whatever, we know there is a super tiger, and we know, because it seems like, you know, every the genetics are not super well known. Like,
yeah. So
it's go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
There's a lot of people already starting to kind of figure stuff out, you know, like Calico and Red, Hypo and Lucy, Tiger, like all these things. We're starting to figure out those morphs itself. I think within the next 10 years, we're going to have a good base understanding of, like, let's call them base morphs, right? And how they work.
Yeah.
We do have like 4 morphs right now that we understand how they work, but they're also a lot of polygenic stuff that you guys ball python people are just starting to kind of get into now too, right? I think Calico and Red is a polygenic thing.
Okay.
So we'll see.
So,
and then, you know, I mean, genetic testing, maybe we can start doing that too if we get more people into the Amazon tree boa world.
I would say the biggest exciting stuff from what I'm hearing is like there's still so much more to come from Amazon tree boas.
Oh, yeah, it just started.
Like it's just starting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like,
I mean,
go ahead.
Just gonna say, this is the first Amazon tree boa show you've had, and
you've had like 3.
I mean, you're so late, so late. I mean, you should have listened to me like 3 years ago. But
dude, it's been about 3 years since he told me get the fuck on this, and here I am waiting. I don't know why I waited so long.
I mean, a lot of people looked at Amazons as trash snakes, man. Like, they just saw gardens and they're like, oh, that's just a gray looking snake. But if you look at an Amazon, you look at a yellow and you think, okay, that's a normal. The garden may look as an axanthic or anathoristic, right? And so then you start to look at things differently.
I think, I'm not going to lie, man, and I don't want to put no disrespect on this species, but there's a couple ways how I picture certain things that are similar, even though they're not. And the way I just made myself picture Amazon tree boas were like the same way I compare like a Maclots to a Timor. Like, to me, I always thought Timors are way sicker than a Maclots, but then I guess if you can't get your hands on a Timor, get yourself a Maclots. And that's how I always looked at it. And for me, I looked at Emerald tree boa as being superior, and the Amazon tree boa just being something easier and smaller to keep. When I necessarily don't want the smaller, easier thing. I also want pain in the ass. But we're not talking about. Yes, we're talking about something that both like to hang on trees. But Amazon tree boa is its own thing. Like it's not like an emerald tree boa.
No, they drape.
Or a chondro, and it has so many awesome things to bring to the table. So yeah, first and foremost, you're not gonna have to wait 2 years for another Amazon tree boa fucking episode, because I'm coming in hot with these ones from now on.
I'll get a hold of Rory too. We'll get him in touch with you guys. So
definitely. No, okay, I gotta ask you before we get into the hot seat questions. What would
he won't be on like video, but he'll be at least talking.
I just let me get in touch with him. We'll go from there. Okay. But I gotta ask you, what would be one thing you feel like is very important that I bring up to Dayton this Thursday night with Marshall?
What you guys should talk about is the actual morphs themselves, right? He's one of the biggest contributors to the red and calico gene. So he's pretty much come out and said it's recessive, but I think it's recessive in the same way that DG is recessive in ball pythons. Ooh. That's what I think. That's why you're seeing different levels of red, right? And you're seeing that it's not always expressed the same way. So I think there's other genes inside that's making that phenotype look so crazy.
And maybe it's could be confusing some people thinking they have something that they don't.
Could be.
Because one thing I'm seeing in the DG game right now are people that are claiming they have DG when it might just be a good head influence and it's not an actual visual, but they're breeding it thinking it's a visual.
Yep, it's similar because people will be like, "Oh, it has a white scale," and it's
Or
like, no, that's not how it works. You know,
right.
Like they all have white scales or black scales. That's pretty normal.
Damn. Well, shit, Randy. Can't believe we got this fucking podcast in finally after many years. Now hot seat questions though. You can't just leave.
Sure.
Everyone gets the hot seat questions. So guys, do me a favor, please. The likes are very respectable, man. We had a lot of people tapping in for you and showing you love. So thank you for all the likes. But hot seat questions, Randy coming in hot. You know how these go, Randy. The quicker the better. Okay,
let's do it.
All right, hot seat questions coming in hot. Let's go. Frozen thought or live?
Frozen thought.
Favorite conjure locality?
Jaipura.
Red conjure neo or yellow conjure neo?
Red.
Pre first shed meal or post first shed meal on a conjure?
Post on anything.
On anything, got you. Yay imports or boo imports?
Yay imports.
One reptile you would import to your collection and maybe something you don't work with. What would it be?
Corallus cropani.
Can you break that down for the people who don't know what you just said?
I don't know if they have I don't know if it has a common name. It's like one of the rarest Corallus species out there.
Where are they from?
Yeah, where's it from?
Northern part of South America there. They're they have really large scales like emerald, but they're kind of like, they almost look like a cross between a Cuban boa and a Russian burgrai, like a black-tailed tree boa.
Okay.
I think I might have seen something similar to what you're talking about.
There's only been like 4 pictures ever circulate of them in the wild.
They're really dark, right?
No, I don't think so. They're lighter.
All right. Well, that was a good one. Don't know what the hell that was. So that's great. No, you're good. That's what we're here to learn.
Homework.
Yeah, for sure. to spray or miss an Amazon tree boa or to never spray or miss an Amazon tree boa?
To spray them.
Yay sports or boo sports?
Yay sports.
Number 1 sport?
Football.
Favorite football team of all time?
Seahawks.
Damn. Steak or fish?
Steak.
Favorite cut of steak?
Ribeye.
Yay alcohol or boo alcohol?
Boo alcohol.
Van Halen or Sammy Hagar?
Van Halen, I guess.
West Coast rap or East Coast rap?
West Coast.
Favorite West Coast rapper of all time?
Nipsey.
Wow. R.I.P. Nipsey. And R.I.P. my chondro Nipsey too. He died also. What do you know? All right. Little word association. First thing to come to mind. Cocoa.
Fiber.
Stuck shed.
Sucks.
FedEx.
Best we got.
That sucks. It's true though. Milk.
Disgusting.
Reptile Super Show.
Eventually I'll get down to one.
Yes. So we'll Marshall. Yeah. Can't tell you when, but I'm
trying soon.
On his bumper. It's coming.
I mean, I was just in Anaheim. I need to figure it out. So
yeah. Instagram trolls.
Ignore them.
If it came down to you eliminating one platform forever, and I mean forever, is it going to be Facebook or Instagram? Which one needs to go, Randy?
Facebook.
Damn. Randy, I got to say, 2 hours went by too quick, but we had just shy of 70 people tapped in for your show tonight. What do you have to say to all your love and support out there, man?
I appreciate everyone that tapped in and talked and listened about Amazon tree boas, and reach out if anyone has any questions about them. I love talking shop. So,
yep. And I got to say, this one of many episodes you'll be seeing Randy, because I'm a huge fan of these Amazon tree boas now. So,
sweet, yeah. Have me on anytime.
And no thanks to Marshall at all whatsoever. So, hey guys, do me a favor, please. Best way to get a hold of you, also, Randy. Would you say Instagram?
Just go to my Instagram. Yeah, if you go to Facebook, you'll be left on there for a while. So
okay. Now, I mean, I do know that there is a name of this logo right now, and I know it says your name, but what's the name? Stoic Arboreals, is that right?
Stoic.
Stoics. Oh, my bad. Stoic.
Yeah, no, and that's my CPA for my business has pretty much pulled me aside and said, Randy, the Department of Revenue is going to come after you soon. You need to start an LLC for this. And I said, okay, I'll come up with a name.
Okay. Perfect.
And that's what I did, and I'll launch it in January.
Oh, perfect. I do like the logo, though.
Nice.
It's
Thank you.
clean.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. I like the logo.
All right, man. Well, listen, guys, please do me a favor. Go give him a follow on Instagram, but more importantly, give it up for our man, Randy P. of Stoic Arboreals. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me
Yeah,
on.
that was awesome, man.
Cool, man.
Enjoyed it.
We'll catch up. We'll catch up soon, Randy. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I'll see you later, guys.
Peace out.
See ya.
Nice warm up for this Amazon.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm excited to pick Dayton's brains about the genetics of it more.
The diversity of diversity of these Amazon tree boas are definitely not to be slept on, bro. This is really interesting. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, there's some nice ones out there for sure. You know.
Overall, do you feel like maybe with me doing more shows about Amazon tree boas, but popularity, do you think with time more people are going to start getting their hands on Amazon tree boas, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, you know, just think about the morphs that are, or the animals that are out there, like Randy's and like Dayton's and Rory's. I mean, you just didn't see those. You didn't see Amazons that look like that, you know, 4, 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's not that long ago at all. You know what I mean?
Right. I know. I mean, yeah, right. And you know, I feel it with I feel like the market's going to kind of is going more into these, you know, odd things, you know. So I think there's going to be opportunity there for really any type of odd, you know, so something that's not super common. And the Arboreals are just like you or he said earlier, they're just kind of viewed as the top of the, you know, top shelf of snakes that you keep, you know.
So how does that how does that make you feel, that being said, but all your work is going into ball pythons right now?
Yeah. You know, you just got to take it as it comes, man. You know, what's crazy about it is that the thought of getting totally rid of the ball pythons, even if the market just tanks and they're worth nothing, I would still keep the best ones, you know.
100%.
I mean, so
I feel you. Yeah, I'm on the same page. So it's kind of like, you know, at the end of the day, no matter what they are, you still know you got some really cool shit that you're never going to want to let go of. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's when you know you're in the ball python game in the right way. Like, that's because you still got shit that no matter what it is, I'm gonna keep it. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, totally.
All right, listen, guys. Red Mountain Herp on Instagram, and you will catch my man here Thursday night with me with Dayton. And I'm excited to sit down with Dayton. Like I said, it's a good warm up, and we're gonna finish strong this week with Dayton this Thursday night. Listen, I'm getting asked if you're ever going to sell a chondro again in your life. And what do you have to say to anyone out there wondering if they could ever possibly get their hands on a Marshall Mendes green tree python production?
You know, man, like it's coming. Hopefully my time's coming. I've been sitting on stuff for, you know, 4 or 5 years now, and it's all starting to come, you know, come to fruition. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll be able to have some, you know, I'll have 4, 5, 6 females I can try next year, and you know, hoping for the best. We'll see.
Well, I'm rooting for you, man. Either way, it's always a pleasure to have you a part of the show and be here. You know, I'm a big fan of your work, Marshall, and you're a good friend of mine. So
thank you
so much, man.
Thank you. Likewise.
Guys, please do me a favor, give it up for my man Marshall. Did a great job tonight, and you'll catch him in Thursday. But it's a wrap for my man Marshall. Red Mountain Herp.
See ya.
All right, big dog. I'll see you Thursday.
Later.
Peace. It's my dog right there, Marshall Mendes. Please go give him a follow on Instagram. And thank you guys for being a part of history tonight. I like Amazon tree boas. I don't know what the fuck I've been thinking. And that's crazy because I did not feel like this after having a hognose guest on. So it's kind of like, way to go. But either way, better late than never. And also, Never too late to get the likes up. If you have not yet, please hit the like button. Also, hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. You won't ever be slept on any podcast I drop here. I will say, guys, shout to anyone out there who has been wanting me to keep this segment rolling, and that is the Tuesdays, aka Fat Snake Tuesdays. And when I mean fat, I don't mean fat, I mean fat. Pretty hot and tempting. All right, I'm bringing it back. Let's go. I still love my super dwarfs. Sitting down with my boy Lucas tomorrow night for Fat Snake Tuesdays. Gonna get up to date with what's happening in the retic world, but more importantly, we're going to be talking about the localities, the locality specific pythons that are really making the impact, I feel like, within the retic community. All right. No disrespect to the morphs, but that's just not my thing right now. I'm geeking out over these goddamn localities, and I'm going to build a foundation. We're going to talk to Lucas about it tomorrow. So be ready. Set your reminder. 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Okay. Can't wait. My boy Lucas has been killing the podcast game. And I feel like Lucas is probably one of the best people associated in the reticulated python community, because he educates people the way they need to be educated. And looking forward to sitting down with you tomorrow night, Lucas. Also, Thursday night, like we were just talking about, we're going to go ahead and pick things back up, Amazon tree boas. We have somebody really highly respected within the Amazon tree boa game. He came highly recommended when it came down to me asking who I should bring on. And hands down, people were like, dude, you cannot sleep on this guy. So he's coming to the show. The homie Dayton, going to be dropping some amazing Amazon tree boa knowledge this Thursday night with me and Marshall Mendes again. So set your reminder. Be ready. Coolest reptile podcast in the world. Guys, got to remind you, if you're looking for exclusive content, if you would like to support what I do more than just viewing and watching, or if you just really want to get behind the scenes of what I have planned and what's going on for the trap, do me a favor, go down to the very first link you see in the description below, click on it, join the Trap Talk Patreon family. As soon as you join the Patreon family, you get a link to the Discord, and that link will tap you in with over 170 trappers. We're growing by the day. Thank you to every single one of my Patreon members. I love you guys, man. Even the ones who left and stick around and just still be a part of the family. Thank you so much. Your guys' support means everything to me, and I love you guys, man. Also, don't forget, support US ARC. US ARC Gold member here all day, every day, 3 years running. Shout to Phil Goss, shout to Vanessa, shout to anyone who supports US ARC. Fight for your rights. No one's messing with our animals. Let's go see you at the top. Guys, have a good night. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys here tomorrow, and I'm out.